Okay. Association goals. 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 Okay, that problem solved. So actual appreciation patients were switching to teams from Zoom. You know, because you know how much fun you've had.
Yeah.
Now, this is a challenge, but
Yes, it is.
just a reminder to everyone, this meeting is being recorded. The new system records everything that's said inside conversations or others. And that's the road bridge meeting for September 9th, 2025 from Ottawa County.
First,
Take it
First,
away.
we'll have a presentation on the high capacity roadway study and access management plan by Austin.
Do you have a copy of that PowerPoint, Heidi, or do you want me to bring it up, the one that we sent for the agenda?
I apologize, I don't.
Okay, let me join the Teams meeting, I'll bring it up.
Actually, I probably get it out of the agenda. Which one did you want?
Should just be the PowerPoint that was in the agenda file.
Okay.
And if you can share that on the screen, I'll work through that.
Sorry. Sorry. I'll take notes.
All right.
Thank you.
So thanks to Daryl and Danielle for being here today, and we're just starting the process of the high capacity roadway study and access management plan, making the presentation to all the elected officials and all of the participating communities to hopefully get an adoption out of everybody in the end. So we're just gonna give this presentation to walk you through kind of the process that BMPO has been through in putting together these plans, and kind of give you a little bit of background. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So if you'll go to the next slide, Heidi. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about who BMPO is. So it's an agency designated by the governor of Idaho to conduct a continuing, comprehensive, and cooperative transportation planning process in the urbanized area under the direction of elected officials from the cities of Ammon, Idaho Falls, Iona, Yukon, and the urbanized portions of the Bonneville County Greater Idaho Falls Transit, in conjunction with the Idaho Transportation Department under the requirements of the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. BMPO has the responsibility to provide the Federal Highway Administration with the existing roadway functional classification and urban boundary changes. And if Daryl pointed out to me that they're not technically part of the policy board of voting, but they do participate in helping us to put together these plans. If you go to the next slide, Heidi.
So
Go ahead. Yep.
jump in here just a little bit. So a metropolitan planning organization, MPO, there's a number within the state. And those planning organizations come into effect basically when there's a population of 50,000 or more. And so Bonneville County urbanized area reached that 50,000 20 plus years ago.
1992.
So it's been an MPO or a multiple. It's been one of these planning organizations for quite a while.
Daryl sent me the document this morning that shows the creation in 1992 when we became that. So on this slide, we just have pictures of all the agencies as we met as a steering committee. They felt like it was important we showed that just to show that we've all worked together on this. And all of the agencies have been in favor of these plans moving forward, and we've all been on the same page working together through that. So if we'll go to the next slide. This just, who are TAC and policy board, and then go ahead and go to the next slide. This talks a little bit about the structure of the MPO. So we have the technical advisory committee, which is a recommending body to the policy board. The technical advisory committee consists of primarily of engineering and planning representatives appointed by the governing board of each representative agency having authority to direct and control the following departments and agencies. And then the policy board is members of the BMPO that consist of elected officials of each representative agency. So if you go to the next slide, Heidi, that's just a list of the technical advisory committee members. It doesn't have their names on there, but that's just how many seats each representative agency has. And then if you go to the next slide, it's a list of all the current policy board members along with their contact information. And then go ahead and go to the next slide, Heidi. So this just talks a little bit about why we need a high capacity roadway study and access management plan. We go to the next slide. So these are some highlights of the purpose of a high capacity roadway study. They are to evaluate current traffic conditions and future growth projections, identify congestion points and safety concerns on key corridors, to develop practical data-driven solutions to improve traffic flow, to support economic development and regional connectivity, to guide strategic infrastructure investments for long-term impact, and to ensure the transportation network meets community needs. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So then as far as the purpose of an access management plan, it's to improve safety by reducing conflict points, examples are driveways and intersections, enhance traffic flow and reduce delays on major roadways, guide the placement and design of access points for new and existing development, balance mobility needs with local property access, support long-term corridor efficiency and reliability, and protect public investment in transportation infrastructure. So then the next slide just highlights some of the past studies that have been done to show that access management planning is not a new thing. The transportation systems alternative was what identified that we needed a high capacity roadway study. So these just show the previous plans as well as the current plans, and the first access management plan adopted by the MPO was 1998. So this 2025 plan isn't a new initiative, but rather a revision of the original access management plan to meet the current needs and standards. So here's where we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the project and what we've been through. And I know many of you as commissioners attended many of these meetings and are probably familiar with this, but we'll just go through that. So if you want to go to the next slide, Heidi. So on November 14th, 2023, we held our first open house, which is at the College of Eastern Idaho. There's approximately 200 members of the public in attendance, and this was kind of our initial meeting to discuss what people thought we needed to do with the high capacity roadway study to address the future traffic needs. A vast majority of the input we received at this meeting was to develop some sort of a concept of an expressway or belt loop around the metropolitan planning areas. Do you have anything you want to add on that, Lance? Or
It was a pretty well attended event. I mean, we've had a lot of events in the past where we had a handful of people, and to have 200 people, it was good to see that many people come.
so we felt like from that, we got some pretty good direction as to where we needed to head. So if you want to go to the next slide. So given the feedback we got at that meeting, we told the consultants to look at those alternatives of, belt routes or expressways around the metropolitan planning organization. It originally started with one to the south, one to the east, one to the north, and one to the west. As an advisory committee, we pretty much determined that the only one that would be feasible currently would be the one to the south. So for an October 15th, 2024 meeting, we held an open house in which the expressway to the south was published. And I think we pretty much all know how that went, but there's probably more than 1,000 people there, and most of them pretty outraged that we would even consider the idea of putting an expressway through their property on the south. Which is interesting, obviously, given the feedback we got at the first initial meeting. So from there, if you want to go,
So I
go ahead.
So from November 2023 to October 2024, the TAC and the policy board and BMPO and the consultants, we met quite a few times, and we went through different scenarios, and we went through what could work and what couldn't, and we did rough ideas of where these expressways could go, and we threw out all sorts of ideas, and we pulled them back in from what our kind of high level, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So in between that, almost 11 months, we discussed all sorts of ideas. We discussed things that wouldn't work. We discussed things that we thought maybe could work. And that's what we put together into that October 15, 2024 meeting. So there was a lot of discussion. And when we published that expressway on the south, it wasn't something that we considered lightly, because we've gone through many different scenarios where we went back and forth and back and forth, and we tried to come up with something that we felt comfortable from the TAC and the policy board to present to the public.
Great. So then on the next slide, Heidi, if you go to that. So given all of the feedback we received at that meeting, we met again as a steering committee, and we decided to have some public engagement meetings, which we held on November 12th and 13th, 2024 at the Bonneville County Fairgrounds. This was more of we put together a presentation, but geared it more towards specifically the South Expressway to answer questions and concerns from the public. There was representatives from BMPO, the city of Idaho Falls, and Bonneville County at these meetings, where we kind of had a board that they could ask questions, and we addressed questions about the expressway, tried to resolve as many concerns as we could, and received more input about the proposed South Expressway. So if you go to the next slide. So between then and March 19th, 2025, which was the first time we put the drafts back on the agenda again from November, we spent a lot of time talking about how we addressed those concerns from the meetings. Felt like we needed to put additional things in there. And then we took additional public comment at the March 19th meeting, as which you can see the primary concerns that came out of this meeting that people still felt like weren't addressed were the agricultural needs and moving farm equipment. No mention of provisions for existing agricultural operations along 65th South and roads further south. Loss of agricultural land, impact on wildlife in the area, maintenance of roadways in the winter, population spread into the county agricultural areas, width of right of way on existing local streets, and loss of property value. So at this meeting, it was essentially tabled, the decision to move forward with adoption of the high capacity roadway study and access management plan based on those concerns being addressed. If you go to the next slide, Heidi. So we've worked together again in April 2025 with policy board and the technical advisory committee and the steering committee to come up with some language that we felt like addressed these transition areas, which is the language shown here on the screen, that basically just says we'll preserve all of these agricultural accesses, we'll work with the people if we have to move accesses to make sure they have equal access in these areas. And we felt like this was a good compromise to address what concerns had come up. Do you have anything else you want to add on that?
Just that much of this transitional area, in fact, probably all of the transitional area is within jurisdiction of Bonneville County right now. And so when we go through this high capacity roadway study and you look at where some of these controversial areas are, most of those areas you will see are right now in Bonneville County jurisdiction. And so they're gonna probably be coming to Bonneville County over and above, like the city of Idaho Falls or the city of Ammon, and tell those cities annex into those areas, which over time will likely happen.
So then if we go to the next slide, so we published that out again for comment, May 21st, 2025, there's a policy board meeting. At this meeting, both the high capacity roadway study as well as the updated access management plan were motioned to be adopted by the BMPO. There was some public who attended this meeting, but none of them opted to give comments, and given the vast public outreach we had at these meetings before, that led us to believe that most of the concerns that we were dealing with had been addressed, because we've been pretty closely followed up until this point. So then if we go to the next slide, now that we've talked about the history, I just kind of want to close by talking about the benefits of all of the agencies adopting the access management plan and high capacity roadway study. And one thing that council member Burtonshaw and I both felt on this from the very beginning when we started is that we wanted this to be something that when we got through the process, it could be adopted by all of the communities and not just put on the shelf and something that we went through as a study and that nobody really adopted or followed. So I feel like as a TAC, as a policy board, we've really worked hard to make sure that all of the communities will adopt this plan and we can move forward. So the benefits of all of us adopting it is, with all the agencies on board, policies and standards are applied uniformly, promoting orderly growth. Stronger regional coordination. Adoption ensures agencies are working together toward the same transportation and land use goals rather than operating in silos. Improved funding operations. Unified adoption can strengthen the eligibility for state and federal grants that prioritize regional collaboration. Efficiency and cost savings, shared standards, streamlined project planning, permitting, and implementation, and saving time and reducing duplication of efforts. Public trust and transparency. A unified approach shows the community that all levels of government are aligned, increasing public confidence in the process. Future growth management. Adoption allows for coordinated responses to growth, traffic, and infrastructure needs, preventing piecemeal or reactive solutions. And enhanced safety access. By following the same access management, roadway capacity standards, safety and mobility are improved across jurisdictions. Do you have anything you want to add, Lance?
I agree that this is trying to make sure that when you're driving down a road, arterial road, that what happens inside the county, if it crosses over into the city of Idaho Falls boundary or crosses over the city of Ammon boundary, we're going to be working off the same types of standards. And so you will not be able to drive down the road and go from what looks like a 2-lane county road into a 5-lane city road back to the 2-lane county road. As growth happens and as those roads develop out, they will look very, very similar, if not exactly the same, into the future. And it gives us tools to go when developers want to come and say, well, I don't want to do that right now. It's like, well, no, you need to do that here because the city of Idaho Falls is going to require the same thing, or the city of Ammon's going to require the same thing. And so it keeps all of us on the same level playing field.
You want to go to the last slide, Heidi? So obviously the desired outcome is that all participating communities adopt and enforce the 2025 high capacity roadway study and access management plan. We did have this on the agenda today as an action item, and the action that we would request from the commissioners would be a motion to prepare a resolution for adoption of the high capacity roadway study and access management plan, which we'll place on your agenda for signing in the next couple of weeks.
I have a question. I mean, I think this is great. I know it's been a really big lift to even get PMPO, first of all, established and then come to agreement. So kudos to everyone who's saw the whole fun process through. But my question is, do we now have priorities and projects that we're all working on together? Or is that something we're thinking about doing, or of getting these beltways at least on the plans, if not done?
Without an adopted plan, we really don't have that unified forward process.
But when we get, I mean, assuming we get the plan adopted, I would guess that people represented are going to adopt it. Is that the next step? I mean, we don't want this just going on the shelf. We want to be actively working towards it.
Well, and we do have some lists. So in the high capacity roadway study, there was the list of all the baseline projects that need to be completed by 2050. And then a lot of what we've talked about is once we get this adopted, we need to sit down with us, the city of Idaho Falls, city of Ammon, Yukon, Iona, everyone in BMPO, and say, okay, if we're gonna adopt this, then these are our project priorities. So we're getting together and applying for funding for these major arterials instead of each one of us just applying for our little sections that we want or think are important. So that is part of the plan, yes.
And so BMPO is planning on moving forward. This resolution's first step, and then next steps are carrying it
We'll
out.
start to put in some project priorities based on the plans.
So I'm gonna make a comment. This isn't the first time around this cycle. Early in the 80s, there was a project completed that had all of the bodies involved signed on and focused on and kept alive. We've had right-of-ways and the development built ahead instead of behind for the areas of the hottest contention. And it's really important for all of the entities involved in the MPO, when we get to this point, to agree that this is the direction we're going to go and to collectively work on going that direction and to collectively seek funding for aspects of the project instead of individually. Councilman Bergshot have had lengthy discussions about this from the very beginning. That if we get to this point and then we fail the entire system. We need to do the right thing. Let's support this. Any other comments?
I just think we've got a team now that can really see it moving forward. Because if we can get this, if we shelf that, like it says, nothing happens. But if we get this and we keep the momentum, I mean, we got people here who can keep it moving forward. And if we get some movement, even in 5 years, towards outlining the plan and making it become a reality, then I think we're in a better place.
That the chair entertain a motion.
Confusion, let me comment.
Yes, please.
The confusion I've had throughout this is, again, the resistance from the residents in that area where it goes down through 73rd South. And I think my understanding is that 65th South was always supposed to be that run through. And I think everybody in that area is still looking at that. I just don't feel good about it.
When I stepped away from Casperson to my seat at the MPO, that had been put on hold for future decisions to where that loop was going to land. Is that still?
So that 65th South corridor, it's not off alignment anymore. It's just widening 65th on alignment. So there's no more going off through people's property. 65th has always been planned to be widened to a 5-lane section, and that's what we're continuing forward with. We moved it back on alignment. They're moving forward with that plan.
Is there presentation that shows going down?
Yeah, it's just
That was just showing the announcement.
the announcement was
For that meeting.
because it did
But-
that.
If you look at and it was in your packets, if you actually look at the study and the access management plan, it shows it back on. So sorry for the confusion on that. I was just trying to show the different phases with the public meeting announcements that will now.
Okay. Well, I just brought mine.
Well, it's a valid concern.
I'm glad you brought it up. It's good to clarify.
In the current plan, 65th South is on 65th South. It will look significantly different than it does today. But that is where that southern expressway will land some fashion on 65th South.
All the way to 45th East.
All the way to 45th East.
Okay, then.
We need a motion to
Motion to,
Motion to prepare a resolution for adoption of the plan.
But that is mine, that's why I got it from there, said it's not, it's files. Yeah.
Nobody involved.
Somebody got that.
it's IT.
I make a motion then that we prepare a resolution to, how we move that one.
Adopt the
Adopt the high capacity roadway study as presented by BMP.
second.
Seconded, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Of
Course. It's here. Yeah, Sarah just left.
It's like somebody's calling all of us.
Yeah. Just-
So I think we need to be planning between now and later to draft a press release and a story form. The crux of the story is that we are trying to do something about the traffic in the area. That lots of people have been working on doing something about traffic in the area. And then secondly, that people express their opposition and you responded to it. So,
Yeah, we'll get that taken care of once we put the resolution in place. We'll release that the same day, so.
yeah, and hopefully from all the, cities, county, if we can do that, because it's, it's one of the biggest complaints is the traffic around here at the road. And nobody's doing anything about it, nobody's doing anything about it, nobody's doing anything about it. It's like people are doing something about it just because.
You don't show up to the public meeting.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean.
And when you do show up to the public meeting, that makes a difference. So I think that needs to be a big part of whatever story we release, is that people showed up, they complained, and regardless of what I think about their complaints, we responded to them.
And just so you know, this is the same presentation that will go to all of the other jurisdictions. They're gonna receive the exact same presentation, and then I have prepared a template resolution already, which I shared with Daryl this morning and Danielle also, so hopefully all of our resolutions will look very similar as well. We're marching forward to get it done, so. Any other questions or good to move on?
I think you guys all deserve a round of applause, literal or figurative, either way. I know this has been a big, unpleasant project.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I think it shows what can happen if public does come out to those meetings and voice their opinions, and because obviously we had a different thing in mind, and when that public came in, it reflects their voice, and the consultants were to go back in and try to accommodate them. So, and it does, if you push your opinion, we do listen.
we don't look for it on Facebook, however.
Rules can stay away. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Daryl and Danielle, for coming. We appreciate you.
Yep, we appreciate you.
I would encourage all commissioners to read through the study and access management plan. Because you will get questions from the public on those. And, if you have that printed out or able to access it, it will solve some of that. You can always direct them to myself or whoever too. But, it just get familiar with where those things are, because there are some changes in the new access management plan. They're not huge changes, but they will affect people who are trying to develop land along arterial roads, more significantly than they have in the past. And so when those questions do when I tell them, no, you're gonna have to do this on this road, and they don't want to spend that much money, they will probably come to you and say, well, why do I have to do that? And I will be following the access management plan.
We'll be prepared. Or at least we will have been warned to be prepared.
Okay. So on the,
A lot of trained and engineers here too, isn't it?
Yeah.
well, yeah, there is some of that.
Say,
It was engineering firms that put it together, apparently. So,
that'll be translated.
Is Iona Road on the agenda?
Yes, yes.
Say one of the elements to talk about that.
it's not on the agenda.
I ordered them to the agenda for Highway and.
We can talk to you about status.
It's,
I'm like, I
we
don't
can
even know what to tell you.
discuss that if you want. I mean, it's out there and it's.
When I answered the comments, the guy just started yelling,
What's on here is they want to start a little bit.
upset about
That's what's on here.
Nobody had
some roadway, well, 105 or something, allowing a truck to go down and destroy the road. I'm like, you know what? I'm not the secretary.
Oh. I
See you tomorrow. Talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
The one on the 23rd. We're just trying to get the phone stop ready, buddy. Take a message. All I was gonna do was take a message.
Well, not the road validation.
I think he's the one that kept calling over. I did not,
Look down, but I didn't drive down this morning.
I did not comprehend the length of our agenda and made an appointment for 11:00, so whatever we got.
So is anything,
That's 150.
Rochelle's up there inviting me.
Oh, it was-
So,
I had an invitation to be here today, so that's why, and I'm sure it had something to do with lighting districts. Can we talk about that for?
that's so, Rochelle,
Now Ozzy's trying to wear 2 hats.
what are we talking about, lighting districts?
So did we leave it on the agenda or did we take it off? I can't
It was
remember.
left on the agenda, talks about a reserve.
So I think we're still at what I told you, Rochelle, just basically I'm waiting for a bid to come back from Rocky Mountain Power.
I was thinking maybe you already had that. That's
No,
why
she
I
hasn't sent it.
No, I think there's gonna be a little before that.
Oh, okay.
Make sure we don't lose it.
Right, well,
So,
I think I'm gonna go ahead with,
Yeah.
The
you gotta
normal-
do those.
because I have to get that on the tax roll and it has to be done in the month of September.
Right,
So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with whatever. If we get that by the end of this week, I can always add something in or do whatever we need to do.
I think for now, just plan on moving forward like we've always done it. We don't need to worry about increasing fees or any of that. And then once we get the bid back from Rocky Mountain Power, we can address how we're going to move forward with that. We'll probably have to have some time to actually do the project for conversion to LED anyways. So I think you're fine to move forward with where you're at now.
Perfect. That's what I'm going to do. And I will get it on the agenda for when you all need to address it.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Try to stay out there next to the phone.
Sure. Just have it forwarded to my phone, would you?
Next on the agenda is, a discussion on the public outreach and efforts for the upcoming First Street and Ammon Signal Project. So I sent you some information that basically outlined POP level 2, and POP is public outreach planning. I went through a number of questions with the consultant and with LTAC, and we answered these questions, and as a result of answering the questions about whether people would be impacted or whether the environment would be impacted, what level of public involvement we would need. And so we came up with a public involvement level 2, and in your packet, it kind of goes through that public involvement, what level 2 looks like. They prepared then kind of that scope of work options. What I wanted to talk with you a little bit about is, are you comfortable with what you saw in that public development scope of work? And if you are, that's great. I'll go back and they're preparing the scope of work and an estimate and a contract to do it. If you want more stuff, then I'll go back and tell them, no, the commissioners would like more public involvement than what you've outlined. And that will adjust the cost up or down depending on what you choose.
I will need to know more about exactly what the project is before I do this.
So
What is the project?
we are redoing the signal at First and Ammon,
Okay,
and basically trying to get to where we have 5 lanes in each leg of that intersection. Upgrading the cabinet system, upgrading the lighting system, upgrading the camera system, and so that it will have more throughput at that intersection.
and how long is it anticipated to take,
For the planning, for the design, or for the construction?
the construction?
So the construction itself will probably be roughly 6 months, but the design to get to that point will, right now, it's outlined for probably close to a year.
And so what do the detours look like?
That is part of the overall design that hasn't been done yet.
But do you anticipate people still going through the intersection or closing the intersection?
That is a discussion that the commissioners are probably gonna have in the future. It's like, are you comfortable with a full shutdown? Or are you comfortable with a partial shutdown? Partial shutdowns tend to take longer, full shutdowns tend to take shorter. But you will always be able to be open to businesses. It means that there's significant impairment to people getting into those businesses, but they'll probably always be open. But so those are choices that we have. You do less of a closure, it takes much longer to construct. You
So it
do
seems-
more of a closure and it shortens time frame.
It seems like to me that if it's closed, that may impact the level of public involvement. But
Well,
I don't know what the other levels are either. So.
yeah. So. The
Level one, the
public,
highest,
no, 5 is the highest. It goes level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 would be the highest. So part of those discussions, even at level 2, we have a stakeholder database, we have stakeholder assessments where we visit with those partial owners. There's media, social media things, there's a public open house. So all of those things are involved where the partial owners impacted directly will know about this all the way through. The public, maybe not so much, because we're not asking for everybody's public input on this happening. But if you have a public open house, that's the time when they have the chance to come and present their comments.
and the public open house is part of this level 2.
Well, level 2 gives you a range of different things.
Okay.
They're proposing in their scope of work options to have a public open house.
Okay, all right. Okay,
So again, I wanted the commissioner to be, if you look through here and said, no, I think we need to do more, then I'll go back to the consultants and say, well, I think the commissioners want more of this or more of this. And,
The range, that makes sense, and I think that's fine,
for what they have here.
right?
Okay, I will convey that to them that it looks agreeable. They will be working on putting together, right now, the consultants are putting together basically an estimate for all of the design, including public input. And that is going to be negotiated with LTAC within the next week or so.
Remind me who LTAC is.
Local Highway Technical Advisory Committee. They're a group out of Boise that deals with more of the rural and smaller communities outside of like Ada County Highway District.
Like the rest of the state, except Ada County.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. The next information on here is a proposal from HK Contractors on the Iona Road project. Now, I didn't put this on there as a signed change order because it's on the wrong form, but I wanted to get authorization to have them prepare a change order if you're agreeable to this. And what this does is it actually allows them to start their contract sooner and get out there and do some tree removal. But by mobilizing sooner, they're extending some costs that they weren't necessarily planning for to the tune of $10,000.
That's what I'm confused about. I mean, why would we let them start earlier? It's going to cost us more money.
Well, and so by starting earlier, they're able to go out there and get these trees removed before some of the other work they can't do because the water's still in the canals. So this just speeds up the process, gets out there, gets some of these things, little things out of the way so that later on they don't have to come back and do it.
But that's why I'm confused about why it's costing more.
It's costing more because they weren't planning on starting now until after the water's out. So by mobilizing earlier, they have costs associated with mobilizing earlier
That they wouldn't have incurred otherwise.
Correct.
Like they wouldn't have had to move all this stuff.
Well, they still have to move it, but it would be moved later on in the project when they were already out there. This actually gets them, again, started earlier beyond, they weren't supposed to start until October. This starts them in September.
How does it benefit us that they start earlier if we have to pay more?
I was just gonna say, they're essentially charging us for their crew to move from somewhere else to this project earlier is what the cost is.
But where's the advantage to us?
But
Yeah, why
I don't know if the only advantage to us is if it helps them to complete the project faster.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll save that money in the long run.
So
I don't,
if our spending money to let them start early allows them to get done under a deadline, so they don't pay a fee because they got pushed back and started late, which then costs them money and saves us money, is this counterintuitive?
For us.
Yes.
so, and let me read what they have here. In order to clear the new right of way more quickly for the dry utility relocation, we propose to move our contract start date from our intended date of October 13th to September 15th, with the elapsing 20 working days added to our 170 working day contract. The additional equipment move is due to tree removal taking place outside of our intended sequence for roadway excavation and requiring equipment to be moved in just for the stump work.
So it sounds like to me, we're paying them $10,000 to close the roadway for a shorter amount.
They won't be closing the roadway for this. They'll just get in and they'll remove the stumps to allow their utilities to relocate earlier in the process.
We're back to what we were reading. Did I read that right? That they want us to pay them $10,000 to extend their work period an additional 20 days.
It basically has the 20 days on the front because they weren't intending to start till October 13th. Now they're going to be starting in September to get these the stumps removed. to allow the utility companies to move their equipment earlier.
So why would we want to do this? Because it's costing us more money and the end date for the project is the same.
If the utility companies can move their facilities earlier in the project, it saves HK time in getting through the project.
That's
I can see that. We're paying them to save them time. That if they don't get it done on time, they pay us because they're late.
Yeah.
This seems like a really backward sales pitch.
Can we counter with them to say we're fine with you starting earlier, but we don't agree that we should pay you any additional costs?
Yeah, there's no incentive for us to do it.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're paying extra for them to get started early.
That's why I brought it to you for this decision,
Okay.
because I'm not necessarily agreeing with it. I'm presenting
Yeah,
it.
you're saying, yeah, fine if you move your date forward, but we're not gonna pay you to move your date forward. But you can say it nicely.
The reason I'm bringing this to you, because their contract hasn't started yet,
Right.
so.
And they have to get permission to start early. I
Yeah.
get that, but I do.
We should let them start.
Yes, we
We
are.
are happy to pay for the privilege to do so.
Okay,
It sounds like to me they're trying to keep their people busy. They have no maintenance. Us pay for it.
okay. The next is to review and authorize the right-of-way negotiation services contract for the 45th East Bridge Replacement Project. This is the bridge on 45th East across Sand Creek that we have. The final design is very near completion. We want to get the right-of-way, and this right-of-way and scope of work that it was included in your packet is to hire the right-of-way negotiator, Michael Scott with Authorize Engineering. It totals $43,083 to negotiate and settle the right-of-way. There are 6 parcels, 2 of which are the same owner. And I was able to talk with them about deducting the price because those 2 parcels were the same owner.
So the negotiation is costing us as much as the right of ways,
We don't know how much the right of way is actually gonna cost us.
but they have, I mean, he's got,
No, this is the fee to negotiate the right of way. This is not the amount of the right of way.
so
So,
this whole thing, this appraisal review, those are not estimates of,
no, that is just to prepare the appraisal to send out for the right of way. Could be anything from $1,000 to
I
$100,000.
see. Okay, thank you.
So if you're okay with this, he will actually prepare the scope of work and a contract for that to go out, and I will go ahead and sign that if you're comfortable with it. If you're not, then tell me to go back with the right-of-way negotiator and see what can be done. I will tell you that, again, I've already talked to them. I've already got discounts on the parcels that are owned by the same people. And, I've done what I thought I could to get the price down as low as I could.
So you think this is in line with the market rate?
Yes,
Then I make, yes, then I don't know if you need an action item, but I'd say go ahead.
if you will have an action item to approve the scope of work, and authorize my signing of the contract.
We just need to put it on an agenda. You don't need a motion today, or you do need?
I do need a motion today to authorize that scope of work and contract to come back and sign it.
This is for the Iona Road, this is the.
No. No, this is the 45th East Bridge.
I don't see it on the agenda today.
Yeah,
It's the review and authorize right-of-way negotiation services contract for 45th East Bridge.
I make a motion to, approve the preparation of the
right away negotiation.
Roadway services contract.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does that make any sense? Albert,
Yeah, you're good.
Austin, that hardly made sense coming out of my mouth.
It's-
Okay, I have got Dash.
What other action item stuff do you have?
There was no other action item.
Okay,
The Iona Road Widening project,
That was the change order that we already discussed.
the one we said, no, we don't want to pay it.
Yeah.
The speed limit on Lincoln Road.
Yeah, I called Boyd Stevens and informed her how to go about a traffic change request. She's supposed to fill out a form and get back to us.
thanks. Sorry to.
Thank you.
Both.
I don't know why I thought the agenda was short. I thought it was-
It didn't look very well. And David wasn't carrying rolls of paper, so.
David, did you ever get with that lady